When the world didn't want me and made me feel small, all I am is broken inside. Some echo identity who can't find his shadow always hurts mentally. I vowed to myself one day that I was never going to talk about this whole situationship, whatever you want to call it. I was never going to talk about this ever. And for the first time in 4 years, I'm going to be talking about this. So, this occurred back in, I want to say, it was like end of 2020 or so. Yeah, I think it was end of 2020. I think that sounds right. That sounds right. End of 2020 is when this started. This happened in December. This is when this started. There was a point at the end of 2020 where I just felt like completely all alone. And this is like, it was a point where like I confessed my feelings to someone that I had worked with, and you know, they were leaving the job soon. I was just like, you know, might as well just say what I gotta say. And I got rejected, and that was like the lowest point in my life, was like at the end of 2020. And I remember like it was also a time where I was doing a shift change to working graveyard shift, which was interesting. So there was like 2 points of just being down, like being going to a graveyard shift, being completely isolated, and then also being rejected. Two forms of isolation. Crazy, I know. But yeah, and I'm basically just going to give you the whole story of this whole thing, because that's what this song is about. That's what Petrified is about, is this whole story, and that's what we're going to be doing. So, end of 2020, December, being on graveyard shift, being all alone, I was like, I got to do something to kind of alleviate this. And I ended up like I had Steam at the time, and which is like it's the Steam, like the app for playing games and stuff like that. I was trying to find a way to alleviate some of this isolation, and the only way I thought of doing it was, I remember seeing like this game that people were playing. It was like a social game, and it felt social. Like, you basically go into these chat rooms, you talk with people, you have your own little avatar, and it was kind of a cool little thing, and I thought it was cool at the time. Now I don't really care for it, but it was called VR Chat, and it basically was for people who used headsets, but there was a way to play it where you could just be on your, you could either do desktop or you could do Steam, but you could play on your computer, and I was like, okay, well, that's kind of nice. So this is what I did in December of 2020, was I downloaded this game, wanted to try it, wanted to give it a whirl, because I wanted to be social, and it was a fun experience, I think. Like, overall, not counting the story I'm about to tell, it was a fun experience overall, just getting to talk to people, just getting to interact with people, having fun little moments. It actually, during that time, it helped me improve my vocals, because I got to learn how to do some vocals through VR Chat, because they had like little mic stands where you could like show off and do whatever you wanted, and they had like, you know, lip syncing rooms. It was a really cool. It's a cool, for what it is. It does really well, you know. But let's get into the part where this story kind of takes off. So I ended up meeting someone through VR Chat. It was just a random person, thought nothing of it at the time, in that moment, and I met him, and I remember, like, I don't know if I added them or not, but I remembered like meeting them. And then, like, I got them, like, maybe a few days later, and they were back in that same room, and we kind of hit it off. And this was the beginning of, like, a long social interaction with someone. And, I mean, we'll get into it in the lyric video, but, we'll just say the username here. I'm not going to get into too much detail. I'll get into detail, but, like, I really just wanted to kind of tell the story for myself. The user I ended up meeting on there, her username was Raven Ghost, like X or something like that. It was something to that effect. And I met this person, and I was like, it was cool. It was almost like perfect timing, because like I'd been working this graveyard shift. I was all isolated. I'd just been rejected by someone. And I was just like, I need a way to alleviate all this, and that was kind of my goal, was to do that. And, for 6 months, I ended up getting to know this girl. 6 months to, like, get to know her and everything. And there were some red flags prior to what had begun, a thing. So, like, one red flag was that she lied about her age. And I think at the time, what that was like, trying to think, that was 5 years ago. So I'd be 22 at the time. She lied about her age. She said she was like 30, or no, she said she was in her 20s. And she lied, and she was in her 30s. And I'm like, okay, why'd you lie about that? It's like, that was one of the that was one of the two big red flags. I was just like, well, if you're lying about that, then, well, there's a little bit of trust lost here. So that was a big thing. And then what ended up happening was, we kind of confessed feelings for one another, and like, it wasn't even in the VR chat, it was in Discord DMs. And from that point on, like, when we confessed feelings for one another, she revealed that she had 2 kids, and I was freaking out. Like, I ended up like going to work on something in the house just to get something done, and I came back and replied, like, I ended up going through with starting a relationship with this girl. And I did it because I was like, I got to know her for 6 months. She's lied twice now. I was just like, I kind of want to see where this goes. For 3 months, I ended up dating her, and this was technically my first relationship, and I've never told anyone about this. This is the first time that I am like speaking it into existence. But yeah, I ended up dating this girl for 3 months, and it started to click for me in my head that I was just like, this cannot work, because 1, it's long distance, 2, she's lied twice, and then 3, I was just like, I couldn't deal with it. I really couldn't. It was so much to deal with, and it wasn't like, I thought I put a lot of thought into how this was all going to end, and I did a lot of thinking. I was like, this is long distance, so there's no way this could work. She's lied about me about her age, she's lied about me about her kids, and it's through VR chat, and like, there's no, it was, there was too many the negatives outweighed the positives of the relationship. And what I ended up doing was probably like awful, but I ended up ghosting her, which is ironic because her username, but I ended up ghosting her, blocking her and everything. I didn't say a word. I just wanted it to be done, because it was the biggest mistake I have ever made in my life. And it didn't sit right with me to have this relationship when the whole thing is built on lies, for the most part. That's not what I wanted. Everything else about her, like, was like truth, but like, the 2 lies bothered me too much, and I did not want to be a part of that relationship, because I was just like, you weren't honest about anything the entire time, and it frustrated me so much, to the point of like, I ended up, I think it was just that year of 2021 where I got to know her and we started that relationship, and then it ended a year later. Like, it ended in December. That's when I called things off. That's when I said, see ya, but I didn't really say anything. I just kind of ghosted her, and I don't ghost people, but that one instance, I was just like, I can't do this, And so, like, I think not a year after that, but like 6 months later, I ended up writing Petrified, and Petrified is all about this relationship that was just never meant to be. And I think when we started confessing our feelings for each other and she lied, that's when I should have ended it. I was just like, this is a red flag in so many different ways, and I wasn't going to deal with it. And so I wrote this song in 2022. I've held on to it for so long because I was like, well, I don't know if I even want to put this out, because I was just like, I don't know if I want to say anything. I don't know if I want this song to be public knowledge. I don't know if I want this information to be public knowledge. It just kind of put, like, this song is the bad place, like, that whole situationship put me in, you know? And it's also this is the longest song I've ever written. It's like 5 minutes and 30 seconds. It's such a long song. It's got so many lyrics to it that we are going to break down in another video. But the point of this song is, like, I wanted to put my feelings out there because I feel like she obviously didn't get a proper explanation for why I ghosted her and left, you know, and I feel like it needs to be said. This whole song needs to be out there to be like, this is what happened and I need to explain it. And, you know, I wanted to be honest and not lie. You know, I wanted to be honest with my feelings and with myself and put this song out there. But this is, evidently, this is how she made me feel. I felt petrified after that whole experience. And, you know, I don't want to feel like that ever again. I just don't. And it's such a bad situation. And I felt like I didn't know how I felt for years after the whole thing happened. Until, you know, I was writing the song and I was like, yeah, she made me feel petrified, because I was like, I don't feel like I can have a good relationship without, like, dealing with this feeling, you know? That's how I felt the entire time. I felt petrified because I was like, I'm kind of stuck here. Like, I'm stuck in this relationship and I can't get out. That's why I ended up ghosting her and just leaving without saying a word. So, if you want to, listen.